Good afternoon, everyone. It's Coram and Shreve here with a look at the stock market today for Wednesday, November 15th, where we saw blue chips lead the way after yesterday's explosive move, Ken.
Yeah, Disney and Intel, 3% gains in the Dow. The gains in the rest of the broad market kind of muted, but we're still in a nice confirmed uptrend here. Three stocks to watch today. We're going to take a look at Netflix. I haven't looked at Netflix in a little while. That stock is back up near highs in the aerospace defense group. Howmet Aerospace, HWM, and finally a stock that has trended well in the past, setting up again, United Rentals, URI.
Okay, well, we'll get to those three stocks, but first let's take a look at the major indexes today. The NASDAQ up less than 0.1%. The S&P 500 and the Russell up about 0.2% apiece. The Dow leading the way. Blue chips up 0.5% today. But looking at the NASDAQ here, I mean, that gap up in Tuesday's session, quite impressive, above 14,000. And it seems like, Ken, ever since we saw that early November follow through day, the bulls have been running. We haven't really seen a meaningful pause to catch our breaths yet. So, what are your thoughts about the action today within that context?
I think we could get a pause. That would not be surprising. You mentioned the scope of the Nasdaq's gains when it initially moved above its 200-day moving average, crossed 13,000. Went above 14,000 yesterday. Today's action, had a little bit of a kind of a stalling type feel to it. It's not going to qualify as stalling, which is what we refer to as a form of distribution. See, volume was really heavy yesterday, and volume wasn't quite as heavy today. So if volume had been higher today, we would have called it a stalling session again, which is a form of distribution. Heavy volume without any price progress. You can see the Nasdaq was up. Up nicely early in the session, but closed near its lows. So not a bearish session by any means. Volume was a little bit lighter than yesterday. Still above average though, so there did seem to be some sellers in the Nasdaq today. And as I mentioned in the notes, growth stocks, a lot of growth stocks pulled back after big runs over the past couple of weeks.
And so, with where we are, the NASDAQ is close to taking out that early September high and not too far from its highs from July. Looking at QQQ, though, Ken, this tracks the NASDAQ 100, it getting very close to a breakout to highs for the year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, large cap technology stocks. We've got pretty good exposure in the leaderboard model portfolio. So that strength in large caps is certainly reflected in QQQ up near its high. So looking pretty good. But again, this has been a very powerful move off lows that we initially flagged with that follow through day in early November. So the market's at a point where you'd expect it to just kind of pull back. And again, we just want to watch the nature of the pullback. If we start to see higher volume declines, if we start to see some of the market leaders fall in heavy volume, that might be a sign that the rally may be ready to rest here. But if we get low volume, orderly pullback, that could pave the way for more gains between now and the end of the year. We'll see.
Okay. And let's take a look at the S&P 500 here. Earlier getting above the 44,000 level, now above 4,400, and now above 4,500, Ken.
Yeah, same similar action. It couldn't hold a decent gain earlier in the day. Closed near its lows with just looks like a gain of maybe about 0.2%. Volume much lower on the NYSE than it was on the Nasdaq today. So a confirmed uptrend still looks pretty good. A lot of these growth stocks that were under pressure today again have been moving just like the market very strongly over the past couple of weeks. So. All big gainers need to digest gains, including the indexes. So we'll see what a possible pullback looks like here.
Okay, and next on our list, let's take a look at the Dow because blue chips did lead today, backing off a little bit by the close, trying to get above 35,000 and awfully close to it, but some resistance at those September highs. Well, I guess this technically was a late August high.
Right, but all of the indexes kind of flirting with these prior highs. So it's at a point where again wouldn't be surprising to see a pullback. The Dow Jones right at that 35,000 level, which is a key round number, and sometimes indexes can get resistance there too. So we'll see. I mean, we could keep going and head higher. What we There are a lot of quite extended stocks at this point. So I think a lot of growth investors out there that have been doing well and starting to outperform. Wouldn't mind seeing a little pullback so some of these big leaders can catch their breath, and then that would pave the way for like I said, possibly additional gains.
Definitely. Let's take a look at the Russell small caps backing off after coming up to a key technical level, that 200-day line, Ken. But this was a day where we saw the 10-year yield rise again after a pretty notable decline in Tuesday's session. So maybe this had something to do with that small cap weakness today.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, bond yields rose, ended up near its highs. I mean, it was a huge decline for that 10-year yield yesterday, down what was it, close to 20 basis points or something like that. I mean, it was a big drop. So bond yields rallied a little bit today. That probably kept a lid on the Nasdaq's gains. But listen, I think there are reasons to be still optimistic here. We're in a confirmed uptrend, and there still are a lot of stocks out there acting pretty well.
I agree, Ken. Okay, let's take a look at two quick sector ETFs before we look at those individual names. Here's a look at IGV, which is already at new high ground for the year, Ken, after yesterday's strong move, breaking out of this base. So getting above that mid to late July high there and holding the gain, even though it did pull back a little bit today for the week, still on pace for a breakout.
Yeah, definitely an ETF that is showing signs of accumulation here. And back to the daily chart, volume was pretty light today, so this was a very orderly pullback for IGV. Microsoft is the top holding in this ETF. They had their developers conference that's underway in Seattle, I believe, and they introduced a couple of new chips today. One, a custom AI chip. So Microsoft, just a really good example of a stock that's still acting quite well here. Good volume behind its recent move over 350, and really being stubborn about giving back gains here. So the more type of price action we see like this, I think the more we can be confident that this rally could have more left.
Okay. And then you also wanted to check in on XLF today, Ken. A
Yeah,
big move in a Tuesday session and adding on to that today.
Yeah, I thought it was a noteworthy move for XLF. Financial stocks have been kind of, lagging for quite some time, but rising tide tends to lift all boats. So don't sleep on the financials here. There is a financial in the IBD 50 that I think tried to break out today. First Citizens, FCNCA. So starting to see some decent setups in the financial sector, and this is a stock that really started to move when it bought a lot of the assets of Silicon Valley Bank when that Northern California bank failed. So good performer in the financial sector here, and I'm starting to kind of look and see if there might be some opportunities here. It's been a lagging sector for quite some time, but seeing some decent setups.
Okay. Now let's take a look at Netflix. It had a nice gain today, almost 3%. Volume a little light though, but this one's been running nicely since that gap up on earnings to get back above the 50-day line, Ken.
Yeah, and so, but this is the one thing. I mean, that you see in a lot of stocks that are up near the tops of bases here, and that we like to see that type of price action. The relative strength line is up near highs. Now, a lot of these gains have come in very light volume, so really not seeing much in the way of accumulation here. On the other hand, there's a really good support week at the bottom of this base, and there you go. That's when the stock reversed higher in very heavy volume. There's your support week, and that's what you want to see in a technical setup. Now, the gains since then have been light, but this is a stock that I suspect is going to, after such a strong move, maybe it adds a little handle, and Netflix, could see more gains. I like the setup, and it's a pretty good earnings report in October. The last time they reported earnings, their password sharing, they're making money there now. They have this ad-supported tier that's starting to gain some traction. So some new things going on, and Reed Hastings, one of the best CEOs around. So I wouldn't sleep on Netflix here. I wouldn't chase it at current levels, but maybe a good one for the watch list. And it's really the common element of all three stocks that we're going to talk about today. Be careful of chasing them. They could start to drift lower, but I think all three of these stocks have the potential to be leaders.
Right. It does seem like if you were buying on earnings, that would have been pretty aggressive. It
Right.
did form a trading range and cleared a trend line on 11/1. And we did have that early November follow through day. So potentially an aggressive entry a couple of weeks ago. I totally agree. Would be nice to see it form a handle here, even though it's clearing those early September highs. It's been running for a while, so it needs to not rest, Ken, but chill, as one
Yeah.
might say.
Yeah,
Netflix and
Netflix
chill.
chill, and really, there's a lot of setups. I mean, the other two setups that we're going to look at today, again, stocks with decent fundamentals that are growing the bottom line and the top line. There's a lot of stocks in this situation that have run up with the market,
Yep.
and I think they're at a point where wouldn't be surprised to see hopefully a low volume consolidation. We don't want to see signs of distribution, higher volume declines, but we'll see if Netflix put it on the watch list and just wait for a little low volume pullback here.
Sounds like a plan. Let's go to HWM in the aerospace defense group. Breaking out this week, closing off highs today, but we are seeing an RS line blue dot. And this is another stock that had a strong earnings reaction to start carving the right side of that base. Volume has been coming into this stock, though, so maybe a little bit of a difference there, Ken. But it seems like 50 would have been the area to act. And now, do we need to wait for this one too to calm down a little bit before entering? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I would approach this the same way as Netflix. Now, Howmet is in a very strong industry group. A lot of aerospace and defense stocks. We've been talking about them on IBD Live. It was a really good response to earnings a couple of weeks ago. When you look at the bottom line and the top line growth, and you look at the annual earnings here, especially the estimates for this year and next, I mean, this is a legitimate growth story. As the summary says, it provides engineered products for aerospace transportation industries. And, this is, again, it's a bit of a lopsided base. It took a while for that left side to form. And, the right side is forming very, very quickly here, but showing some signs of accumulation. Again, I'd like to see this one just kind of pause and digest some gains, but I think this one still, has the potential to be a leader as well.
Great. And let's round things out with a look at URI. As you said, it's been a little while since we've talked about this one, and earnings, there was a little bit of volatility, but that helped form the bottom of this base. And it wasn't until we started seeing more participation in the market in early November that this one started perking back up again. I want to go to the weekly chart here, Ken. It seems like as it's forming the right side of this base, 500, give or take, could be a level to watch.
Absolutely, and let's go back to the daily chart here, because you can see this stock kind of came close to its left side high yesterday during that rally. Kind of closed near its lows. It tried to get up close to that 492 level again today. Kind of backed off highs as well. So yet another stock that has moved up quickly from the bottom. It's in a good base. It has formed the right side. Now we'll see if it will just kind of pull back in light volume here and give a better entry. All three of these stocks, Netflix, Howmet, and URI, I don't think they're buyable right now, but they're in good technical setups. Just need to see all three of these stocks form handles. It could happen.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Well, that is it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. That is it from us, but be sure to check out IBD Live tomorrow morning for the latest, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details on that. We will see you there, and we'll also see you right back here tomorrow at the close.